I wish that you could hear the noise inside my head.
You mean the noise that keeps you up at night as you lay in your bed?
Yes. And trying to silence it is like trying to get an auditorium full of kindergartners to be quiet, but even they settle down eventually.
Yeah, I get that. So you have to be still. You have to be present.
I try, it's just that it's so many different voices, you know? And the loudest is the one that tells me that sleep is the remedy.
Yeah, I hear those voices too, but sleep is our peace. Sleep is the remedy for peace.
Now, don't get me wrong, I love to sleep.
Me too.
Like, if I could do it all the time,
Yeah.
I would,
Me
you
too.
know?
Love
Sleep,
it.
like, forever.
Forever.
And then I realized
How
how
much
much that
that
sounds
sounds
like
like
death.
death.
Exactly. And my doctor says that I'm depressed, maybe even a hint of bipolar. He said, we won't diagnose you just yet, but we'll leave it on the table.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell your doctor your greatness. And besides, you never did well with labels.
My point exactly. Because when I die, I'll be put in a box. So I refuse to live in one. I am not depressed.
You sure? So then, what are you?
I would say that I'm merely weathering the storm. You know? Okay, actually a few storms. Maybe even a few tornadoes. Throw in an occasional hurricane and sometimes my earthquakes and sometimes my heart aches.
I mean, peace. Listen, life is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't have to get on this ride alone. I got you. I'm here for you.
I hate you.
I'm here.
But I will not be another test subject for the latest antidepressant that turns humans into zombies so that we may be first to be killed if ever there's an apocalypse.
Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me you never consider taking medication?
Oh, no. I will not push a pill through these lips. I will not be the FDA's hooray.
All right, hooray, fine. So now you know your truth. So now, what are you going to do now?
Well, I will not use a stronger grip on this crutch. I will only depend on sleep for the replenishment of my body. For Christ's sake, amen. I will cry because I'm releasing demons, not because I'm showing weakness, but because I am winning this fight and I intend on winning this war.
You are strong. You will heal. You have been standing up against this demon, trying to control your mind. You will win the war. You have won the war. I said that.
It's just that I don't want to hurt anymore.
Me neither.
You know, not myself,
No.
not those that I've hurt because they were hurt to see me, see them, see me hurt.
Oof.
I will not succumb to this man-made, self-proclaimed hell. I will expose my wounds and wear them well.
Yes, that you will do well. You know why? Because your vulnerability is your saving grace. It's your saving grace.
You know what? You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because this is a single bed.
Yes.
There's no space for depression here. Not day, not night. I'll tuck myself into bed and wish me good night. Then replay it all over in my head until I'm the one counting the fatalities. I'm not sure what's that. So the name of that poem is called Silent War, and it's actually featured in my published book. I published it about a year ago, entitled Chrysalis, Not Quite the Butterfly. And I wrote that piece about a few years after my diagnosis. So my doctor did actually diagnose me with bipolar depression and anxiety. And initially, you know, when I got the diagnosis, I was in denial. I was young. I'm still young, but I was maybe like 20, 21. And I was young and I was in denial and I was just like, I'm not accepting that. And then I realized that the more that I was fighting it, the harder it got for myself. So I said, you know what? I got to figure out a way to manage this. I got to learn a way to cope. And I've been writing poetry since I was 9, so this was always a go-to for me. So I said, you know what? Let me just write about it. So poetry is my outlet. Writing is my outlet. It allows me to voice what I'm trying to say without having to think about the stigma attached, think about the judgment, no false empathy from people who think they know what's going on, they think they know how you feel. So, having a mental illness or mental challenge, I like to say, I mean, it is difficult, but dealing with it is not impossible.
So my name is Alex, and so my response to Key's Silent War was just coming from a place of understanding, relating to her, and also kind of playing a devil's advocate and throwing in some insensitivity and sensitivity as to how certain people react to you when you share with them that you're feeling sad or depressed or whatever that might be for you. And so for me, as a kid, I was always a joyous kid, and I remember going to see a psychologist with my mom and my younger sister, and then all of a sudden we stopped seeing the psychologist. So I'm like, okay. But I always remember as a kid, I was extremely creative and very boisterous. And my mom was like, you cannot express yourself that way. So writing was my way to express myself. It was the way to be free. And so growing up, I seen a therapist at 15, and the therapist says, you're depressed, here's the meds. And I'm like, no. I walked out and I said, no, I'm not doing this shit. I'm not taking medication. So at 23, I was diagnosed with anxiety. And so my life just went it was just all over the place. And now at 37, about 2 years ago, I decided to seek therapy, been on a recovery plan, and life has been a beautiful challenge. I accepted the fact that this is what is occurring with me, and I know that I have the power to create the life that I dream about without the stigma attached, without being criticized, without beating myself up for it. And I have my ups and downs, and I thank God that I'm here. And I know that what helps me go through it is writing, meditating, just exercising, doing anything that's going to take me to a perfect zen, and also being a contribution to other people, specifically people going through the same thing. And so Keys and I originally wanted to create a documentary around what mental health looks like, because it's not a character flaw, and it's not like, oh, this is how you look, this is how you speak, this is how you smell, you have a mental health issue. No, we all can relate to it, whether we have it or we were affected by it. So we decided to create Me Too Radio Zone.
So Me Too Radio Zone is our podcast, and it's a mental health podcast. So just me and Alex talking about our experience with mental health and just normalizing it, because we're trying to break the stigma around it. Like she said, it doesn't look a certain way, doesn't feel, it's not like, oh yeah, I could tell that person has mental illness. It's like, no, just normal people, me and you, how we look, and just talking about our experience, and we offer tips, and we have guests on the show. Thank you, Rich, for coming through, and just so we can have the conversation around it, because it's important that we discuss it, because the more that we try to be silent about it, it's hurting us even more. So Alex and I do our podcast. It's every other Monday. We call it Mental Health Mondays, and it's available on SoundCloud. It's Me, the number 2, Radio Zone, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and the email address is me2radiozone@gmail.com. If anyone wants to be a guest, we are open to anyone coming on the show, and you just be yourself. You don't have to,
It's like having a talk in the kitchen with your girlfriend and your boys.
Yeah, that's the feel that we're going for. So thank you, Rich, for having us. Carmine, thank you guys for being here. I know it's your lunch break and everything, but thank you, appreciate it.